the big affair. The story with the unexpected ending. I just found out my wife has been having an affair for more than a year. We were good friends, had a lot of shared experiences, and I thought we were really close. She tells me that she still loves me and wants to go to counseling, but I feel conned and want out. No deposit, no return. I'm moving out after Christmas and plan to file for divorce after New Year's. If she doesn't want the kids, they can live full-time with me. I can figure out how to make it work. She has now put on this "I'm so sorry" and depressed act, and both her family and my family are starting to pressure me to try for reconciliation. I can't imagine ever wanting to be near her again, let alone sleep with her. I think if the other guy floats her boat, she should go take up with him and be happy. And if she was willing to do it with him for this long, why isn't she doing what comes naturally? Must be the money. I guess. I don't know much about him, but I know he's not with anyone else, so it shouldn't be a problem from that end. I have no problem if love blooms eternal for them. It's time for me to start over and find something real of my own. I'm only going to live once. I mean, let's face it, she's been sleeping with this other guy and hiding it from me for over a year. That's 1 month of lying for every year we've been married. Is there anything I'm missing here? I used to think that I was close to my family, but with this latest, I'm also thinking of telling them to kiss my behind and adopt her if they think she's so great. My dad was just here, and I finally had to kick him out of the house because his weak sermonizing was making me nauseous. I have a good attorney, and he says I can get out of this cheap as long as I have proof, which I do. I'm not going to risk the time repair. Just already got 8 years shot. Depending on how long I live, that could be 1 day out of every week down the tubes. I throw good after bad. My attorney says that you can put on a lot of pressure with good evidence, because cheaters don't like to have everything revealed to the entire world. He's done it before, and you know something. And even if she manages to extort some money out of me, we're pretty sure that I can get the kids. I found out about it because my computer broke down. I needed to send some stuff, and I saw that hers was running. She'd been in a big hurry when leaving the house, probably to meet him, and forgotten to turn it off. I switched on the screen, and it was basically all there. When she got home, she got in her face, and she broke down and gave me a bunch of B's about how she had wanted to end it, had only started it because she felt lonely. Etc. Lonely, my rosy butt. I guess if there's a planet somewhere with more than 7 days in a week on it, then she should move there. Because that's what she got from me. She said he doesn't compare to me, and I said I didn't marry you because I wanted to be a regular on the dating game. Even you say that the fix is in, and I'll always end up winning after the final round of sampling. I'm moving out because I know they were doing it here, and living in a hot sheet motel isn't my particular cup of Earl Grey. She says they never did it in our bed. And she's full of BS, so I don't want to be constantly reminded and be wondering what all over those sheets was I slept in. Kids are coming with me. I've told the older one already that we're splitting. There are plenty of kids in her school with divorced parents, so she knows what it means. Ayan, am I glad that these kids look a lot like me? There aren't many people who do, so at least I'm sure there. My mom called me up today and tried to give me a lecture about forgiveness. I told her that if she didn't want some of what her beloved floozy daughter-in-law was getting, she should clam up quick. I can't believe you can be a good son and pride of the family for all of your life, and suddenly they take the tramp's side over yours. My sister, who I've bailed out more than once, is even trying to give me the high hat. She disrespected you, humiliated you, made a fool of you, and had slept with another man for a year. And now you should accept her back and spend money on Mexi. Each 10 of Thales, I see and try to heal something that you will never forget if you stay with her. It's better to spend the money on your kids than on the M crescent. Sorry, but I will tell you that apparently everyone in your family is crazy because no one normal will support a cheater. Life is too short to suffer and live miserably, and I wish you and your children a lot of luck and happiness in the future, and I wish you to find a decent girl that will respect you and love you like you deserve. It responds, that's the way they're talking now. I'm almost expecting my mom to bust out with some revelation that I'm actually the product of her having fun with the termite inspector. I used to look up to my dad, but he's suddenly become so morally flabby that I can really imagine him putting up with it if it were true. Probably would offer them the bed so that they wouldn't have to use his bug spray cart. Lord God, what a collection of belly crawlers. Maybe the stork really did bring me, because being the same blood as these people does not compute. I'm thinking of calling my ex-brother-in-law and asking him what really went on between him and my sister, and if his family tried to get a knife at him too. I know that they broke up because her skirt was somehow wired to fly up every time some guy looked at her cross-eyed. But you know, Hector, I had respect for family, so I stayed out of it as much as I wanted to take his side and tell her off. She even gave him the clap, but I can't recall her getting as much grief as I'm getting now. Maybe we guys are just expected to suck it up. I don't care about her anymore. Of course, she now wants to disclose absolutely everything, but she doesn't get it. I don't care. Just offered to take the kids out today so that she could invite him over. I mean, she slept with him on my bed, so she should also be able to have fun with him in our house. Don't you think? Festive occasions deserve celebration. I never saw myself as alpha, but sure. I'm magnanimous. I'm sad about the wasted time. I think I know now how a long-time doper feels after finally getting clean. Did I really blow all that time? You mean I don't get a second chance at that decade? Does it make my skin crawl when I think about all the years of fake closeness? But it's a sad state for everyone when bags of lies walk the earth and can't be told from human beings. Hope my kids got my chromosomes. Whatever. Outside of my marriage, there were real, tangible advances in my life over the past years. I can't dispute that. Concentrate on the good and kick the garbage into the gutter. Excelsior, Excelsior. Now she's talking about wanting to X herself. I told her that if she decides to do the deed today, to go to my parents' place or her boyfriend's place to do it. I don't want my Christmas messed up with the cops. I don't understand why she doesn't get it. I can't believe a word she says, so she should stick a cork in it and stop bothering me. It's starting to boggle my mind that I married such a stupid person and never recognized it. I don't know if I'm being alpha, but why would anyone in their right mind put up with these kinds of things? Put up with these kinds of BS histrionics. Then again, that's where I look at my dad now with his forgiveness crapola and wonder if his brain got poisoned from his career as a chemist. Maybe we're all alphas, but pollution and bad food has sent the species into decline. Taking the kids out for pancakes. I really like being with my kids. That hopefully won't change even if I think that their mother is a parasitic tweet. I was always concerned with her needs until I found out about the affair. I really thought we were a healthy, communicative couple without secrets. Then you got it right. I disconnected big time. Give yourself a prize. And if my parents are hurt, they should learn to take it as well as they can dish it out. Choked? If they want to side with her and call me names, they should be able to take the consequences. There is nothing in my family's past that would warrant this kind of betrayal. My parents and I were always close until my wife's affair. My sister got into bad company and pills as a teenager, and I was the one who got her out. It's with love, not force. She's still got problems, but at least she doesn't do dope. I saved her life, and this is what I get. Sure, I have issues. Who doesn't? And yes, my WW would be better off with a D. And so would I have told her that already. So thanks for concurring. The only thing I'm interested in is whether or not the OM is married or in a relationship, because it would be a nice, clean solution for wife to go to him with a minimum of trouble. My wife says he's single, so the stage should be already set for angels singing and conjugal bliss. Am I right? The rest doesn't concern me. If it turns out to be one of my friends, well, that's another acquaintance gone south. What I loved was what I thought my wife was, not what she really is. It's like having been in love with a character in a movie or a novel. That person does not exist. She never existed. The time to get into reality. But there's no need to blow it out of proportion. I got canned. Lots of people get canned. I have already gotten past what she's done, and I'm ready to move on. I don't even view it as something she's done to me. I'm also thinking she doesn't view it as something she's done to me. But I've stopped assuming that I know what goes on behind that face. It obviously got sidetracked, but this story was really about how my family has knifed me. They're the ones I've got a real beef with. The princess can do whatever she wants, as long as it's not within line of sight of anywhere I'm at. Back from the way my family is talking now. I say they've been hit with the alien's stupid ray. I don't see them coming around. Never experienced this from them before. Her family is actually being a bigger pain in the back, but they're her blub, so I don't hold it against them. Seriously, I don't know that the OM is a jerk. I would say let the kids figure that out for themselves. my older one can definitely tell me if he's mean or a jerk. That's assuming that the wife takes up with him, however. Like I've said already, don't know why she's not jumping at it, but she's not. I don't know if I have high self-esteem. I was never a big shot or a ball of fire. I'm just a regular Joe doing what comes naturally. I have to punch a clock, and I take my lunch in a bag. At Wall Street, 3-hour brunches for me. But I've never been ashamed of what I am, and I don't look back. If the wife decided she liked some other guy better, or just decided that she was the type who needed to screw around, she should have told me first, and we would have split up gently and with respect. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and people just find out that they're not the marrying type or just not with the right person. But she decided on this lying affair BS, and now it's a total mess. It's a total mess for everyone. She says that she was honest with me almost all of the time, and almost all of what we experienced together was real. I say, I don't care. You've got 100 absolution for up to 100 phoniness. Let's just please close this relationship. Why did she do it? Who knows why people get into these things? But the real her is a mystery that isn't worth years of my life to try and comprehend or get to know. We have kids, and I have to make sure they're looked out for properly. So I can't cut her off sharp when I feel no obligations here otherwise. Just long-term or short-term don't make the difference, as far as I'm concerned. The wife got so whiny this morning that I said, "Okay, 5 minutes to speak your piece, and that's the last I want to hear." She tells me that the actual bed affair was only going on for a couple of weeks. It's only the emails that have been going on for longer, and most of them aren't even affair material. And the reason she left the house in a hurry on what turned out to be D-Day was really to tell him that it was a mistake and over. She begged me to read all the emails going back to the beginning. She truly did not understand that even if her story were true, it wouldn't make things any better. This morning early, I went through the computer we share and deleted every picture I could find which had both of us in it. Then I packed up all our old photographs from our dating and courtship days. All the wedding things, all our love letters. I took it all up off the road and built a fire. If it wasn't something that would burn, I broke it. The plates, the lovers' cups, the teapot, the little porcelain bells. I just took my sled's short arm and turned them into talcum powder. Let the wind blow it away. I thought it was going to be painful in some way or another, but it wasn't. I actually started to feel lighter. Just all the memories that came up bringing her breakfast in bed on those plates. Our first morning married. The love poem I somehow managed to scroll when I was being jostled about in a seaplane. How she looked on our wedding day. It was all like it happened to someone else, then it all started fading somehow. It occurred to me that maybe the reason people can't forget painful things is because they try to separate out the good from the bad, try to hold on to one and drop the other. But memories are not divisible that way, have to take them the way they are or surrender them completely. I got home and the kids were watching TV while the wife was sitting in the kitchen and staring out the window. I packed her grip and told her, It's enough you're not helping things here and it's time for you to go to him. No need to sneak anymore. You can sleep in his bed. He can tune your engine day and night, and you can start preparing for playing house. It's time to get out and live by daylight like the rest of us. She waited a moment, took the grip and left, could barely look me in the eye. I thought, bingo. I don't know what or who you are, but I know what you want, so that's resolved. I don't plan to lord it over my folks, or hers for that matter, but can now get some peace and quiet. I think after all was said and done, I remembered that the English called the day after Christmas Boxing Day, and I thought that was appropriate. I'm taking the last bits of refuse from this mistake and boxing them up neat for the trash man. Next thing to go is this house, and that puts paid to her. There's obviously still some legal stuff to resolve, but I figure that if I haven't found closure yet, I think I'm very close to it. My older knows we're splitting up. My younger probably doesn't understand all that well. They are certainly sad because I'm sad because it's not a happy place here at the moment. And if for no other reason, but I told them straight out that I would always be there for them, and that their mom would be around plenty. Now, she has to decide whether or not she wants to live up to that. If she comes back to the house, I won't have to let her in because she's got a key and can let herself in. You don't plan to be doing anything here, so she's welcome to stop by and have a sandwich anytime she likes. I don't want her moping around and depressing the kids, though. I don't plan on physically booting her. She won't want to stay here. That's settled, and she knows she can't deal with the kids. That's why I changed tack and decided to stay here myself. I may indeed have to give her everything. I have to see what the court says, but I have no intention of rolling over, nor do I intend to represent myself. The original plan was I leave. She finally left because she wanted to be with her beau. I'm guessing the problem was that she couldn't admit it, and that's what was getting her all down in the mouth and mopey. So, I'm currently the single parent. That's the physical what is, even if the law isn't planning to give me a vacation trip for it. She'll have fun with her beau, and then she'll be back around to talk turkey. I have no delusions about that. But it will be a few weeks before she gets that far. Like I said, she's free to stop by anytime she likes. A trance. And to summarize so far, you found out she was cheating with a doctor. You kicked her out. She went to him. He had a couple of fun nights again with her. Decided he could do way better than her. So, cheating wife got dumped by the doctor who was happy to sweet talk her and sleep with her, but didn't want to be stuck with a cheating piece of trash and kicked her out. Then she rolled back and is trying with her mother to get you to take her back and forget what a person she has turned out to be. Have to give her credit for one thing. Turns out her story is true. She did go to her beau, but split on him the same day. Don't know if there was a farewell bit of lovin', but I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, she punched her ticket with me when she started up with him way back when. Everything else is frosting on the turd. The doctor took to drink. Mama-in-law was properly scandalized. She doesn't know up from down or which way the world spins anymore. I wrote the wife that if anyone needed proof that she was a cold piece of work, don't look at me, look at the doctor. Haven't gotten an answer to that one yet. One thing I have to say in her defense is that she never brings up any nonsense about affair fogs or midlife jitters. She knows as well as I do that things like that are immature horsepucky for adults who don't want to face facts. You did what you did, and then you own that as part of the real you. I said before that I might take her back. Anything's possible. But she has to convince me first that I was at least a bit to blame. When I mess something up, I own it and make amends. A chance, we're not there yet. She may never get there. But I do admit that she does have a way with arguments sometimes. She's definitely got an uphill sack race on this one. I can cook my own steaks and don't feel much like duty bonding these days. So the only chance she's got is to show she has a brain in her head that I might be partial to talking to for an extended period. Just got to be fair and let her try her best from afar. Papers go forward, though. It's one of those situations where a tangible sense of direction is needed. Concerning remorse, I doubt we're ever going to get much beyond regret. But it's not my main concern. She'll either find a button to push or she won't. Contracts are for later. The only things we can agree on so far are that she did it of her own free will, all the way up until the end, and that her getting out of my sight was the best thing for us both. Solitude sharpens the mind, and whiny people who are offered a shoulder to whine on will use it. She is truly ashamed of her little begging and groveling performance after D-Day, and I do have to say that I credit that. What keeps us corresponding is that we're both on the same page about not talking sfingly dup, mean nonsense, or how often did you bring me flowers. So you have your commonalities and you go with them until you get bored. And of course, without progress, boredom will be inevitable. I have no idea as to how I could ever trust her again. I have no doubt that she has enough determination to do such as might earn another man's trust back 10 times over. But not mine. Right now, she could tell me that it was raining outside, and I'd still think I'd do well to go to the window and have me a look-see for myself. I'm not kidding. I'm willing to credit her never having another affair. But once you start lying, you don't stop. It's a slide into the pit. What costs $2? You start saying cost $1. If you're sad and it's easier to say you're happy, you say you're happy. And vice versa. It's a drag on the Constitution to live with someone who has gotten into the habit of lying, who has broken through the moral barrier that keeps you telling the truth, who has lost all control over the impulse to pick the easy way out. Don't know as I'm ready to label her a sheep-pig yet. Pigs are warm-blooded, and in her case of that I am not yet at all certain. My family knows now to stay out of my business and let me handle my own affairs. No pun intended. We've restored contact, but they stay away from the topic, since my folks are the ones who shuttle the kids back and forth. I assume they get all they need to know from the wife. I don't think I'm angry at all anymore. I can have a lunch with her now and again, and we can talk about the kids' schedules, selling the house, getting things done and finished and put behind us. Of course, with kids, you can't walk away completely, but it hasn't been too hard getting what we can put to rest. But the whole thing has put me through the ringer pretty bad. The balance is that what I thought were the best times of my life were all based on something that wasn't so. And that still gives me a twinge now and again. What I didn't do was ever think that what she did or does reflects on what I'm made of. She does what she does because that's what she's made of. Doesn't have anything to do with me. Life is too short to be spent in suffering and self-doubt, isn't it? You tip what doesn't work into the dumpster and you move on. Just don't ever do the same dumb thing twice. That's all I can say. And here's the wife side of the story. My pain and my guilt are inconsequential and not worth mentioning. What counts are the hurts of my husband and children. I inflicted these hurts upon them. He was strong and roughened from hard work and childhood poverty. But his experiences had taught him to be kind and gentle. He always sought out the better nature he believed to be in all people, even those who had taken advantage of him. He never bore a grudge. I saw what happened to him after he discovered my betrayal. He became bitter, strident, jaundiced, a different person than anyone had known. Itchin, I know that he now puts on the best face he can for the children, but even they can see his unhappiness. They talk of it when he is not around to hear. I did this to him. I injured him and turned his grace to misery. I wrecked our children's happy home and replaced it with insecurity. I often think now of what I would do differently had I only the chance to. And of course, what comes to mind is that I would have disclosed all after being caught. Every man, every incident. But just today I thought, it goes farther back than that. Actor and parent should have told him before we married what I was and let him decide if I were redeemable or not. Of course, he did not think that I was a virgin when I met him, but he never knew how deeply soiled and compromised I was. He never had a chance to decide knowingly. It is very painful knowing that what I have broken, I will never be able to even start to repair. I hope that someday I will have the opportunity to brighten their lives, even if just for an hour or a minute. I know that in the end, this is probably only vain posturing, but it is all that comes to me now. I did know what I was capable of, and I did not tell him, and I may now change, but to what end? I hear that I need to work on myself. It is always about working on myself. If I succeed, if I learn to be always truthful, then things will go well for me. I will not repeat my history. I will have a chance and may forgive myself. But what about my husband? I read what the long-term repeatedly betrayed have to say. The petitions of loss, doubt, and their own self-worth. Hence their despair. Excess, I think of my husband tormenting himself with such in the middle of the night, and it kills me. I want to die. I will not be able to feel joy in my life until he once more can have it in his. Hence can he find his way there on his own. I have never truly prayed in my life, but now I pray for him and his finding a return to happiness. I wish I could see life and the future in a better light for me, but at the moment, I just cannot. I know he will be fine. I just have bad spells where I imagine the worst. I think this is like being on the vaunted roller coaster, but alone. A very absurd thought comes to me now that I wish we were together for this experience. I'm still looking inside myself, trying to find out what remorse is and if I truly feel it. There are those who are certain that I am obsessed. The attention of men would be easy to get now if that were all I wanted. I do have intense physical desires now that leave me exhausted and sad, but it is all about my husband. I don't want any other man. I know that no matter how much I may change, I can't get him back. He deserves and will find something lovely and pure, and I can never be that. But I do know that I can become clean even if I can never be perfect. The only thing I can do is strive for that bit by bit. I must learn patience. One of my past affair partners has written me saying that he has heard that I am now separated from my husband. He writes that he has still not gotten over me ever since I broke off our affair 4 years ago. He says that he has changed and grown and begs for another chance. I want to write him back and tell him that I only used him and I should not have wronged him, but I cannot and will never love him. He must get past it. He must come to realize that I am not the woman he has made me in his thoughts. At the same time, I feel that corresponding with any of these men would be disloyal to my husband, even though we are no longer together. But it seems so cruel not to answer at all. I really do feel that I wronged my affair partners, even though they knew that I was married. I let them persist in their illusions, even though I knew that it was inevitable that I would become bored and discard them. I wonder if this is simply part of what I am, a part of what I am going through. I need to question myself endlessly, trying to figure out what truly represents doing the right thing. I never lost interest in my husband. That fact gives me hope. I've come to understand how vulnerable, how exploitable I was. At the time I married him, he came into my life at a very crucial time. Without him, I would have fallen into shady business or worse. I might not be alive today. As badly as I treated him, he was always my lifeline. 2 months later, my husband told me to leave on the day after Christmas last year. I saw him today for the first time since that awful day. I was happy because he looked so healthy and calm, but I was hurt by that as well. I tried to tell him about me, that I knew that I needed to change, that I did not know if I could ever really be deserving of him. But I was trying so hard and would try harder. I lost control and started babbling. I think he cut me off. "You'll be fine," he said. "There are other people like you and other people like me. And as long as you stick to your own kind and leave people like me to mine, you won't do anyone any harm." His eyes were as kind as I always remembered them. He was looking at me with compassion. It was as if he were able to look deep into me and had determined that there was nothing to find. I always knew that my hopes for reconciliation were improbable. But it just seems so much worse than I had ever imagined. It may be self-pity, but it hurts so badly to finally have to face what we have come to. I know it was cruel. I'd never heard him ever say a cruel thing before. He could have a terribly black sense of humor when he was angry, but he was never cruel. I can't imagine what has now happened within him, but I feel so vile for being the cause of it. But what I did to him was so horribly cruel. God only knows how I managed not to see it. He may be wrong about me in the end, but he has the right to say whatever he feels now. He threw me out 9 days after his first discovery. At that time, he did not know that there had been others. I know that this does not put what I did in any better light, but it was not a marriage where I was continually making him suffer. Or perhaps in the end, it was worse for him to find out in the way what he did. But if someone would see it as worse had I continually abused his trust in his face, I can say that I did not do that. Was I ever loved, appreciated, and honored in the first place? I've thought about this, and I realized that our marriage and our love were lies not only for him, but for me as well. The woman whom he loved was faithful and deserving. She wasn't me. She did not really exist. I spoiled those years of my own life as well as those of his. It wasn't the real me who was being loved. What hurt the most about what he said was not the substance of it, but rather seeing once more how my actions have made him so different, so harsh. He was not like that before. I have feelings of wanting to be valued by him as little as I deserve it from him. It makes me sad that he is so clearly doing well as a result of having 5 months separation from me. I can't help it. I do continue to try and better myself for my own sake, but I can't just dismiss the loss and move on. I don't even know if I want to. I feel as if I just can't abandon hope. I saw my husband again today to discuss our impending divorce and our children, and I feel helpless, torn apart. He lets me say whatever I wish. I finally told him what I have been thinking for a while now, that he should seek counseling to help him cope with his pain, that his reserve and calm are neither. Reserve and calm are neither normal nor healthy. He has always disdained all sorts of psychotherapy as head shrinking, so it was a subject I was hesitant to approach. He laughed and said that I should know better than to make such a suggestion to him. He referred to our marriage as a silly mistake made by youngsters. I don't know if he is trying to hurt me or reassure me, whichever it is. It hurts me. I do know that I caused all of this and should not be complaining. I really do feel blessed that he will even talk with me face to face. I love him so much, and I love seeing him, as much as it hurts. It all just fills me with such a feeling of helplessness. I know that I sound like a broken record. I guess that I just need to let it out someplace. We're separated without interaction for several months, and he did not crash. He fulfilled all of his responsibilities and more. He worked and cared for our children. He was deeply angry for that week after D-Day number 1. But he did calm down, and for that time until D-Day number 2. We would write to each other. Every day, there was still hope for reconciling at that time. He was introspective and thoughtful, very much the man I knew and loved. He was finding his way through it all. It occurred to me he may have told me that I would be fine because he had already experienced his own recovery. I've also started to become proud of him for being so able to dust himself off and move forward, even if it seems odd. Perhaps that means that I'm now finally starting to be able to accept this. He was angry and hurt over what he perceived to be lost time spent in a marriage of lies, never to be regained. He is calmer now, but I am still very aware of what I've done. I did once try to find consolation in the positive aspects of our marriage, but I do not do that any longer. The only thing that matters is that I abused and hurt those 3 people dearest to me, all for something that I found I don't even want anymore. I think that I will always carry that with me. About remorse. I don't pretend that I truly know what remorse is. While my husband and I were still communicating well before D-Day number 2, I asked him if he felt that I was remorseful. He replied that it did not matter. The main thing was that I never lied to him again. I still despise myself for being afraid to tell the truth at the time when it may have made all the difference. I still feel horribly unworthy of what was given to me. What I squandered is that remorse. It won't do any good to ask him now. I once thought that I would care about what others thought of me in my situation. I found that I really do not. But I do care about what my children think of me, and I wish that someday my husband will think well of me again. I have said before that I do not know if I will ever be able to see what I do as just for myself. I don't think that I will be able to stop loving him and wanting him back. So it's hard to imagine that I could have another relationship. He has changed. He has learned cynicism and mistrust, and spares no feelings. A couple with whom we were friends are now struggling with the aftermath of an affair and are attempting to reconcile. The beach looks up to my husband and often asks him for advice. And my husband recently told him something like, "Remorse and a few dollars will buy you a sandwich." I look at this new man and say to myself, perhaps you are right, perhaps you have learned to see more clearly than you once did. It still makes me sad. Timeline. 2 weeks after up, the husband who posted, he gave update on OP. I have pulled my life together. I am working, but I haven't been able to move on beyond what I've done or accept the loss of my marriage. Something awful has happened. Accident. He has a fractured skull and is still in an induced coma. He saved 2 of his co-workers' lives that day. I blame myself often. He was working nights due to our separation, and I remember hearing that when accidents happen, they always seem to happen on the late shifts. I talk to him and hold his hand, and sometimes I think I feel his squeeze mine back, but I know that is impossible. I never really knew how precious life is, not until now. I try to remain strong for our children's sake. That is all I can do now. My comment 7 years later. His wife never came back and reported if he had passed away or not. Given that she just dropped off, it is possible he did. That was the final ending. I hope you guys learned something valuable from this story. Sub and bell, and please stay safe in your relationships.